Men's basketball has found their new head coach in Fran Dunphy. The hire was made faster than I can type an overdue paper. So Professor Bradford, if you see this, no you didn't. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. I would like to wish all of you a very happy Masters Week. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. And for those of you who do, you know I could easily turn this into a PGA Tour talk show for the week, but I digress. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. We know how much you love recaps, so we compiled all of them from this week's games.
And later, rowing's Sean Donahue takes us through the grueling preparation it took to win gold at the Murphy Cup Regatta.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1, Fran Dunphy, a 1970 graduate of LaSalle and the winningest coach in Philadelphia Big Five basketball history, has been named the new head coach of the men's basketball team. Dunphy is a member of the Philadelphia Big Five, LaSalle Athletics, Penn Athletics, and Philadelphia Sports Writers Hall of Fame. He has nearly 600 victories over his 30 years as head coach at Penn and Temple. He has competed in 17 NCAA tournaments and is the only coach to be in charge of multiple Big Five men's programs. Vice President of the Athletics, Brian Baptiste, said, quote, "During my time at LaSalle, I have met many passionate alums who personify what it means to be an explorer. Fran Dunphy is at the top of that list, and to be able to introduce him as the 20th head coach in LaSalle men's basketball history is an honor and privilege. In the conversations with Fran, he has made it clear that he still has a passion for coaching and a burning desire to help his alma mater. I know he's excited to get to work, and I know our student athletes will benefit from having him as our leader of the program," unquote.
Number 2. After a 9-year absence from the podium at the Murphy Cup Regatta, the Explorers Varsity 4+ boat recorded a first-place finish. The boat, consisting of Jimmy McInerney, Joe Yeager, Sean Donahue, and James White, with Cox and Trevor Fawcett, took a clean sweep of top times, finishing first in their heat and in the finals to grab the gold medal.
Number 3, Kayla Spurl and Claire Jacobs received Big Five honors this week, with Spurl being named to the All-Big Five first team, while Jacobs was named to the All-Big Five second team. Spurl led the Explorers in scoring and led both LaSalle and the Atlantic 10 in free throw percentage. She also scored her 1,000th point as an Explorer, becoming only the 26th player in women's basketball history to reach that milestone. Jacobs was one of the 3 players to average double-digit scoring this season and ranked 11th in the A10 for 3-point field goals. She also recorded her 1,000th point as an Explorer, becoming the 27th player in women's basketball program to accomplish that feat, and the 3rd fastest to do so.
So Fran Dunphy being announced head coach is obviously the big story this week. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting LaSalle 1 to hire a new head coach as quickly as they did. And I really wasn't expecting Fran Dunphy. You know, he hasn't been a coach in a few years, so it's just kind of interesting to see that he is back, because he said in his press conference today that when he got offered the job, he didn't immediately jump to take it. He had to consider it, do a lot of thinking. So I get why. Obviously, they wanted him as a head coach, but I really didn't think that they'd make the decision this quickly and have Fran Dunphy be the guy to take over the whole program.
Yeah, I know a lot of schools do go for alums as coaches, and it's fantastic that he has the heart for LaSalle and wants to make the program better. As Brian Baptiste, our athletic director, said, it's great to have that excitement for him, but it is a little concerning that he had to think about it, and hopefully it helps the program. I know we do have a lot of people in the transfer portal, and hopefully he's a good recruiter and can get some good players to come into the program.
And it is concerning because it's not a very long-term commitment. You know, Fran Dunphy, he hasn't lost any of his touch, but, you know, he's in his 70s. He's not a long-term coach for this program, and that's what LaSalle needs. So it's going to take more than Fran Dunphy to fix all the things that are wrong with the men's basketball program, but I guess we'll have to see, you know, what happens during next winter season. And for women's basketball, obviously, Kayla Spurl, Claire Jacobs both being named to Big Five teams. well deserved, and it's really great to see that their accomplishments this season have been recognized and that, you know, they made the first and second teams.
Yeah, it's so fun to, even though their season's over, continue to keep talking about them, and they're still getting accolades for the incredible seasons that they had. So again, really proud of them, and they're such a great addition to the program, and we're sad to see Spurl go, but really helped us out this year.
Yeah, definitely great representation for women's basketball, and that's it for the top three. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. Track and field split up to participate in 2 meets this past week, competing at the Big Five meet and Sam Howell Invitational. In the Big Five meet, Justice Quinato recorded the highest finish for the Explorers, taking third in the 400-meter dash, clocking in at 51.64 seconds. Stefano Isabella and Nathan Palengeli took 5th and 6th place respectively in the 1500 meters, while Dylan Service and Bryson Peter both finished in the top 10 in the 800 meters. On the women's side, Olabisi Adams took 2nd in the long jump, while Casey Brown took 3rd. Brown also finished top 10 in the high jump. Jenna Webb, Jerica Lufrano, and Julia Flood took 4th, 5th, and 9th in the 1500 meters, while Nevia Davis took 5th in the 100 meters and 9th in the 200 meters. At the Sam Howell Invitational, Liam Rivard claimed gold in the 800 meters, with his time being 1 minute and 48 seconds, ranking 9th in the NCAA. McCallum Rowe took 2nd in the 5,000 meters, while Luke Zarikowski took 5th in the 1,500 meters. Christine Mancini was the lone explorer for the women at the Invitational, and she walked away with gold in the 1,500 meters with a time of 4 minutes and 22 seconds.
Water polo split their games this week with a loss against LIU and a comeback win against St. Francis. Saturday morning, the Explorers got off to a slow start, racking up a 5-0 deficit early in the game. By the beginning of the third period, the Explorers had cut their deficit to just 2. With 2 more quick goals from LaSalle, the game was tied at 10 with just 2 minutes left. It was a battle to the end, with the Explorers and the Sharks both scoring once again, but a final shot by LIU gave them the 12-11 win. Later that night, the Explorers took to the pool to seek out a win against St. Francis. The first period was back and forth, but the Explorers ended the period with a 2-point lead. The second period saw a 6-0 run from LaSalle, and the Terriers attempted a comeback, getting the deficit as close as 4 points. But the Explorers continued to score and fought off St. Francis 16-12.
Women's water polo hosted Siena and Marist last weekend at Kirk Pool. In the match against Marist, it was a close battle off the jump. The Red Foxes got a man advantage early in the first to put themselves on the board. Not too long after, freshman Francesca Coe and senior Madeline Corper combined for a 2-0 run for the remainder of the first frame to give LaSalle a 2-1 advantage heading into the second. Senior Kalista Hyam found the back of the net again early in the second, extending the Explorers' lead to 3-1. Marist quickly responded with a 3-0 run to regain the lead. A combination of goals from junior Shauna Zuanich and Coe put the blue and gold back on top. The tight game saw a lot of back-and-forth scoring in the final frame, and the Explorers took a 2-1 run to tie the game twice. Unfortunately, Marist pulled ahead in the final 2 minutes of play to defeat LaSalle 10-9. Later that day, the Explorers faced Siena. The Saints were able to strike first, but were quickly shut down after the blue and gold put together a 2-0 run in under 1 minute to put themselves in the lead. Yet another goal from Coe and one from senior Carly Linden extended the LaSalle lead to 4-1. Siena struck once more to put the score at 4-2 heading into the second frame. The teams traded goals throughout the first 6 minutes of the second, with LaSalle seeing a 3-point lead heading in the second half. With more goals from Zuanich and Coe, LaSalle led in the final frame. A 2-0 run from the Explorers in the final frame sealed the deal for the Explorers. Siena found the back of the net 3 more times and held the Explorers to 1 goal with a score of 17-10 in the final minutes of play. With one final goal from freshman Sophia Botner, the blue and gold pulled off a solid victory over Siena 18-10.
Rowing had a historic day at the Murphy Cup last weekend, as the Explorers were able to advance to all the finals in the 3 categories they participated in. First up was the men's varsity 4, where all 3 boats finished top 2 in their heats to qualify for the final heat. In the final, it was the boat of Sean Donahue, Joe Yeager, Jimmy McKierney, and Tyler Lancaster who crossed the finish line first and took home the gold. Meanwhile, the varsity 2nd and 3rd boats finished 4th and 6th respectively in the final. The women's varsity 8 finished 4th in their heat to qualify for the final. In the final, they finished 5th in a close race that saw them just 4.8 seconds away from first. Finally, the men's novice 4 debuted the Sean A. Hughes 92 boat, and it didn't disappoint. In their lone race, they earned the gold, finishing almost 20 seconds ahead of the other 2 boats. In response to the excellent day, Ivo Correct said, quote, "It was a historic day for LaSalle rowing. It has been 9 years since LaSalle has won the Murphy Cup. This time we did it twice," unquote.
Lacrosse had 2 games this week, with their first matchup being against George Washington. Neither side scored until nearly 14 minutes into the game, with George Washington netting the first goal. The Colonials were then able to take a 6-0 lead after scoring 5 goals on 13 shots. The Explorers fired back in the third period, scoring their first goal thanks to a free position shot from Maddie Duchowski. The Colonials answered back with 2 goals, bringing the scoreline to 8-1. The final quarter saw goals from Duchowski, Maddie Henderson, Emily Johnson, and Liza Delarada, but LaSalle still fell 11-6. It was then on to Davidson for Lacrosse's senior day, where the Explorers honored Kiki Venza, Erin Welsh, and Madison Hamilton. The Wildcats drew first blood 44 seconds in, but Welsh answered with a goal of her own to tie things up at 1-1. Davidson was then able to score 7 more goals, bringing the scoreline to 8-3 at halftime. The third quarter saw the Wildcats take a 13-3 lead, but goals from Maddie Henderson and Sarah Grassi brought things to 15-5. Despite the seniors combining for 3 goals and 8 draw controls, Davidson took the 18-7 victory.
After day 1 of the Red Hawk Invitational was rained out, the Explorers competed in a windy day 2. Parker Wine paced the Explorers at 8 over par with a 6-hole par stretch going into the clubhouse. Both Nikita Romanov and Carson Rush shot 1 stroke under the captain at 9 over. Matt Werner had multiple birdies on the day, and Logan Flores rounded out the team's performance at 12 over par with 2 birdies.
So a lot to talk about. Track and field splitting up their teams into 2 meets. Lots of great results from them, but to be expected from track and field. But rowing is really a great story. They haven't won the Murphy Cup like they said in 9 years, and then they were able to do it twice. They were able to win in such a huge fashion with the Sean A. Hughes 92 boat, which they just dedicated this past week. We'll hear Sean Donahue talk about that later in his interview, but it's just really amazing to see rowing getting back on that form and showing people all of their preparation, how it's paying off.
Yeah, it was a great performance, and it's so great to see the coaches as excited as the rowers, because that's really the brains behind the program, and to see him, get this win for them was incredible. And again, more of the season to come, and this is a great step for them.
And it's really interesting because rowing has gone through, I think, 5 coaches in 4 years. So the fact that through all that inconsistency and having to adjust so many times, it's been, really paying off for them. And then water polo splitting 2 games again this weekend. I don't want to say disappointing because they still won their games. They still played well, and Francesca Coe was named MAAC Offensive Player of the Week, so that's great for her. But against these big teams like Marist and Siena, you want to get those goals and get those wins because those are the big water polo teams. So they have Iona, Wagner, and Villanova coming up this week, and so hopefully they can pull it together and go for more of a clean sweep for this weekend.
Yeah, and it shows a lot of grit that they were able to come back against a big deficit against LIU, and they kept it really close up to the last second. So even splitting those games, still see a lot of fight in them. As many games as they're playing, they're still performing well.
And I just think it's so funny that against Marist, Tom Hyams, the coach, Calista Hyams on LaSalle, and their other sister, Marina Hyam, is the goalie for Marist. So I just love that little water polo family tree. And that's it for recaps. But when we come back, it's our first rowing interview of the season, where I got to sit down with Sean Donahue to talk about his gold medal winning race. Stay tuned.
People join Walk MS to raise awareness and funds that change the world for everyone affected by multiple sclerosis. MS attacks the brain and spinal cord. It's the most common neurological disease leading to disability in young adults. Walk MS brings communities together, creating teams with friends, loved ones, and coworkers to rally around those we care about and end MS forever. Join us. Together we are stronger. Walk MS fundraising accelerates research breakthroughs and life-changing breakthroughs. It will take all of our passion, determination, and fundraising to end MS forever. Together, we can change the world for people with MS. Join us. Register today, start a team, and raise funds at walkms.org.
Welcome back. He's been up since 5:15 this morning and braved a downpour to get interviewed. For this week's On the Sidelines, we were joined by Siobhan Donahue. Take a look. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan. Welcome back to this week's edition of On the Sidelines. I am joined by rowing's Siobhan Donahue. So Siobhan, after a 9-year drought from the podium at the Murphy Cup Regatta, how does it feel that you're a part of the boat that won gold?
It was actually really cool. I mean, we've had a rough ride here at LaSalle the last 4 years, but we're really pulling it together this year. We've got a really good group of guys that want to go out there every day and push each other just to get faster. We line the boats up 4 across, go down the course, just like this morning at practice, and it's really just wrapping everything together.
Yeah, and rowing is such, not an intense, I guess it is intense, but you're up really early, you're practicing every single day. What is it like to put in all of that work and finally get to see it pay off?
It's definitely, really satisfying. At the start, everyone goes through the same kind of pain, but at the end of the day, it's how much further can you push yourself, inches,
Yeah.
At the end of the race.
And your boat, how does that kind of help with the chemistry and everything? How important is that into winning such an important medal for LaSalle?
Chemistry within the boat, it's definitely super important. We've got 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and one of our freshmen stepped up to the plate. Shout out Joe Yeager, he's a monster. But it's really cool because we see where we started when we came in, and now all the hard work's finally paying off, and it's really exciting to see.
So have you been on a boat with those guys, obviously not Joe, but with those guys for multiple years, or is it just this season that you've been in a boat with them?
Yeah, since 2019, Jimmy, James, Trevor, and I have rowed together in different shells, depending on whatever we've raced that year. It's usually been a varsity 8, but since then we've broken down into 4s, and we're really starting to hammer it down.
And how important is it for a freshman to take that step upwards and say, hey, I want to be in a boat with these upperclassmen and I want to, be in that more competitive scene?
It's honestly, it takes a lot. Mentally, definitely more than anything, just because, you're in a boat as a freshman with guys who are 2-3 years older than you. They have 2-3 years of experience and 2-3 years of collegiate meters out on the river. And it's very impressive to see, what these guys do and what they have to do in order to really make it pay off.
And you've been rowing for since 2019. So what would you say is the biggest improvement you've seen from when you first started to now?
Definitely the grit. Being able to push yourself to your max every practice or every race. Breaking down the barrier of pain, mental pain, and how it feels, and being able to really push yourself to the line is definitely something over my 4 years here that we've really developed as an entire program.
Yeah, and we've seen recently that you guys dedicated a boat to Hughes recently. Can you kind of take us through that and what the meaning is of dedicating that boat to him?
So unfortunately, Hughes, he was a former rower of LaSalle. Had a tragic passing, very short, and when you dedicate a boat to someone, it means a lot.
Yeah.
You go out there every day and you row that shell in remembrance of that person. Every stroke you take, you're laying it out for him, for his family, and our freshman 4 currently who row that boat now. They won gold on Saturday, and they won gold by a landslide. And that was an incredibly impressive victory, and I'm sure the family was so happy to see that.
And does that kind of speak to the program as a whole, the closeness and how much you guys still support each other even after someone graduates?
Yeah, it's awesome. I still talk to guys that I've met when I was a freshman, guys that I rowed with all 3 years before my senior year. I'm still very close with all of them, and it's really cool to see where everyone goes, how everyone comes back, and just to keep tabs on everybody, because it's just a constant circle of support.
And we've had quite a few coaching changes along multiple sports at LaSalle. So from a rowing standpoint, how important has your guys' coaching been, and how has that had an influence on the program as of right now?
Yeah, we have a strange story. I'm at coach number 5 in 4 years, but I think this one is definitely the one that'll stick. We've had great guys in the past, they moved on to bigger and better things that suits themselves and their families, which is fantastic for all of them, and I wish them all the best. But Evo really stepped up to the plate. He's filling some pretty big shoes, and I think he is taking LaSalle in the perfect direction.
And then, coming off of a gold medal, what is something, more forward in the season that you're looking forward to? Are there any other meets or anything that you are really kind of looking forward to and saying, like, this is the one I want to do well in?
So there's just a saying in rowing, the last race is in May. That's the championship race.
Yeah.
The other races, as much as they do matter, they really don't, because you got to show up and be ready to play on game day. And May 14th is when we hit Dadville's. We're going to try and do something crazy this year, and we're going to try and win. And I really think that two crews, our freshman four, our lightweight four, and our varsity four, I think everyone's going to surprise a lot of people.
And so what has the preparation been like for you guys to prepare for such a huge championship like that, especially after so much inconsistent coaching and you guys having to adjust so much over these 4 years?
A lot of grit. Everyone needs to stay, on top of their game, and it's a lot of meters. The more time we spend in the boat, the faster we get, and the better it becomes for everybody.
And then on those days where I'm sure getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning isn't always ideal for you. So on the mornings where you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to do this, how do you keep pushing through and try to do the best you can every single practice?
Honestly, we got to, pick the team up, everybody individually, and carry each other on our back. I definitely didn't want to wake up at 5:15 this morning, but I know my boys are out there doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And we all get on the bus and we all talk about it. We all, hype each other up for practice, and we get ready to go.
And what's kind of that atmosphere when you're on the bus there trying to hype each other up and just get excited so that you can put in a good shift for practice?
Everyone's listening to their own music. Everyone's, getting real antsy, getting real excited. And then when we get off the bus, we're ready to go to work.
And then what's the mood like when you have a race? What does the race day mood really entail for you guys? Is it different from practice, or is it much of the same?
We're definitely in fight mode on race day. It's fun. There's a lot of adrenaline all the time, which, you got to try to calm yourself down so you're not wasting your adrenaline. Because you need it for the race. But it's really cool. It's a very surreal experience, and this past Saturday was definitely one to remember.
Yeah, do you guys have that one guy who's like really intense, focused, and like not talking to anyone, and then that one guy who's kind of like blasting the music, getting everyone pumped up? Like, are there guys like that on your team?
I like to think I'm pretty obnoxious on race day in my own way. It's fun. It's all good banter.
Yeah.
Our freshman Joe, he's pretty serious.
Okay.
He's got his race day ritual. We leave him be. But whatever, it works for everybody.
Yeah, I know some sports have like kind of weird superstitions that they do. Is rowing kind of that same way, or not really?
No, I don't really. Not that I know of.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I don't think there's any superstitions that we really stick to.
Yeah, and so the next race that you guys have coming up, what is your kind of focus going to be for that? Obviously you want to go for gold again, but is it something more like you want to improve more performance-wise rather than focus on just the result, or what is that mindset going to be for you?
The mindset for this Saturday is to come out guns blazing. We're going to try our best to pop as quick as we can off the line, catch a quick lead, and hold it from there. And we have never raced some of these schools before.
Okay.
And it's going to be really cool to see, how we match up against some of these bigger schools. And I'm really excited. Mercyhurst, I heard they're quick, so we're going to try and see their speed as quick as we can. We hope to race them in the heats, and then we'll go from there and see how the finals go.
Yeah, so we are definitely very excited to see you guys race. So Sean, thank you so much for joining us, and I will throw it back to the desk.
Of course.
We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll give you the upcoming games for the week and our Explorer Report game of the week.
MS does suck.
MS mucks with your central nervous system. Almost everything about your body, your muscles, your organs, your ability to speak, your ability to understand, your ability to move.
MS took everything from me, everything I thought was important, everything I valued.
I used to jump in a trampoline and swim with the kids.
MS has affected me being a mom because I'm sorry.
Despite MS, I will keep riding my bike.
I will continue to be the strongest mom that I possibly can.
I will still dance with my husband.
I will continue to live the life that my daughter expects me to live.
Multiple sclerosis may be a part of who you are, but it doesn't define you.
I will never stop. I will never quit.
I'm going to keep being me.
Welcome back. Here are the upcoming sporting events you should look out for this upcoming week. Track and field will head to the worst North Philly school, coming to compete at the Temple Invitational on Friday, April 8th. Water polo has another jam-packed weekend, taking on Wagner and Iona on Saturday, April 9th, then facing off against Villanova on Sunday, April 10th. Additionally, rowing will travel to Cherry Hill, the hometown of notable people such as Tim Howard, Lauren Hart, and Sam Long, to compete at the Necht Cup.
Lacrosse will see a 2-game road trip taking on St. Bonaventure in New York on Friday, April 8th, and Duquesne in Pittsburgh on Sunday, April 10th. Then on Monday, April 11th, and Tuesday, April 12th, men's golf will head up to New York to compete in the Shark Invitational. Women's golf will have a busy weekend as they compete at Hofstra on Friday, then move to a match against Niagara before finishing at the Quail Valley Spring Invitational.
And that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com. You can also check out the digital edition of The Collegian, which now features SportsLine content.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Instagram at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there. This week's poll is men's golf or women's golf?
Oh, the poll was a surprise. We didn't know what it was going to be. I'm going to say women's golf because I love
Thanks,
Libby.
thanks, me too.
And for our entire SportsLine team, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Louie Gilliland. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.